Refreshing apple slaw right here.
We had time to sparking, the liquor started working. We've got more words than our heads can hold. Supper's on the stove, and there's a light in your eyes that keeps you warm. Hey, it's good to be back home again. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long-lost friend. How'd you spend your time? What's the latest thing the neighbors say? And you felt the baby move just yesterday. Hey, it's good to be back.
I'm Ernie. I'm your president this year for the Anza-Borrego Foundation, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you here for a very significant reason. You're supporters of this organization, and the things that we do, what we've accomplished here, wouldn't happen without people like yourselves. So thank you very much. Thank you for being here today and being a part of this. People, you know, anything that's great that happens because of a good idea, but it's good hearts that really bring it together. And one of the best hearts, is a guy by the name of Dave Van Cleve. And Dave,
15, it's 50 years. The state parks has had this in its sights, and it's just a business that requires patience. You know, we buy only from willing sellers for a negotiated price that both sides think is fair, and sometimes that doesn't work out. So what got us from 50 years ago to today is a change in philosophy of park acquisition. If you think of places like Yosemite and Yellowstone and Anza-Borrego for that matter, these big landscape ecosystems that are kind of standalone. And when we tried to acquire Lucky 5 as a high priority for many, many state park people, it never made it to the top of the list for decades because of the standalone mentality. About 25 years ago, the science of conservation biology developed, and they started stressing the idea of connecting existing reserves, which really changed the landscape not only of this beautiful area, but of the whole world in terms of landscape conservation and how we're going to approach protecting areas. The philosophy became, instead of let's make a big place and everything in there is safe, let's say we can connect even small areas. So this science is what drove really this acquisition. So the next big event was in 1999. A friend of mine named Michael Mantell came to visit Anza-Borrego with his family, and Michael runs an outfit called Resources Legacy Fund. And what they do is they fund landscape conservation projects. So we didn't have an agenda. He said, hey, I want to take a hike. I said, where does your family want to hike? No, I just want the two of us to go for a hike. But we were hiking along and just chatting up, and finally he says, well, what's your number one priority for acquisition? I didn't hesitate. I said, Lucky 5. He says, oh, is it for sale? I said, I don't know, but I'll find out. He said, well, we have a donor to the Resources Legacy Fund who wants to place a gift in Anza-Borrego. So she's looking for your number one priority. I said, well, do you mind if I ask what the gift size is? And he goes, well, it's $2 million. I said, I got to go make a phone call. So long story short, 2 years later, we had Lucky 5 in our pocket, 2,675 acres that you're on right now. This was the original purchase, which connected for the very first time two existing reserves, Cuyamaca Rancho State Park and Anza-Borrego Desert State Park. So that was a huge step forward in conservation, this landscape scale, conservation biology. For recreation, hiking trails, many of you are familiar with, this science of tying these places together really has made a lot of sense. One day my dad brought a friend of his onto the property. And he was a tall guy, and he was dressed all in black. And he had a big black beard, and he had a big black hat, he had a big black camera, and he had a big black hood over the camera. I said, you're not talking about Ansel Adams? He goes, yeah, his name was Ansel Adams. I said, did he take any pictures? He goes, he sure did. And finally, she turns one over and it says Ansel Adams photograph. So now we got it, and we have the rights to, I guess, own it or at least use it for events like this. So yeah, there's an Ansel Adams photograph of Lucky 5 Ranch. I'd like to thank the Nature Conservancy, and they donated $1 million to this project. I mentioned the Wildlife Conservation Board, San Diego Association of Governments, the Resources Legacy Fund that I talked about earlier, and the Cuyamaca Rancho Foundation that existed right at our sister park right behind us here. They all contributed significant funding to this project, and we have some individuals who also have been very significant. One is Dr. George Sardina. I think George was one of the early visionaries for this project, saw the potential for the connectivity and donated money early on to help launch this acquisition effort. So thank you so much. George is a physician. He's in his 80s. He's still doing volunteer work as a physician in the Central Valley. He's just an amazing guy with a great heart. Another person I'd like to acknowledge is Ralph Singer. He oversaw the first phase of acquisition at Lucky 5. He also did a bunch of other ones like down in the Borrego proper. And he was the lead on this project for the Anza-Borrego Foundation. And just Ralph never wavered, never faltered. So I'd like to acknowledge Ralph's efforts in both Lucky 5s.
Thank you.
Again, thank all of you for coming, all of your support for the Anza-Borrego Foundation, to Shirt House for just providing such great entertainment for us here today, and to everybody that just has been involved in this and just supports us in so many ways. So thanks to each and every one of you.
Paige Rogowski, where's Paige, and her staff have worked, and I don't mean this at all as an exaggeration, tirelessly to make this happen today. When you see some of the staff folks, if they're all here, wave your hand, staff people. Good. Make sure you shake their hands and tell them thank you for everything today, because they really, really worked hard to make this happen. Now.
Anybody at 550? Okay, we're gonna hold it back. How about a t-shirt for $20?